Have you been struggling to get good with girls? Well, today we're gonna fix that. What's going on? My name is Dave and I help guys get the girls they want and become the men they're meant to be. Now, hey, a lot of guys struggle to get good with women for years. For some guys, it's their whole life and they never quite figure it out. And for many other guys, they just end up settling with girls far below their standard. So why is that? Why is it so hard? How can you shortcut your way to success? Is there a shortcut? These are the things we're going to be talking about in today's video. So without further ado, let's get into it. So one thing you need to understand about getting good with women is that there's levels to the game, right? And at each level, there are roadblocks which can be really difficult to get past. So difficult, in fact, that sometimes you might want to give up along the way or step aside and then come back in 6 months, right? But then at that point, all your momentum is gone. Some examples of these levels might be, all right, so to start, you have a lot of approach anxiety. You get really nervous when you see girls that you want to talk to. Then if you can get above that level, maybe you're out there, you're overcome that anxiety, you're talking to girls, but you're struggling to get phone numbers. And all right, let's say you start getting phone numbers, but then for some reason, like the phone numbers aren't leading to dates and things are falling off there. Each one of these are levels with different roadblocks along the way. Now, the thing about trying to get good with girls, especially if you're trying to do it on your own, is that you're basically resorting to trial and error at each one of these roadblocks. When things don't work out, you're not quite sure why they didn't work out. So let's take an approach, for example. Now, let's say you go out there, you make an approach, or you're making a lot of approaches and they're not going the way that you want them to go. So you might think it has to do with X, Y, or Z reason, right? Like, oh, you know what? I didn't talk to her for long enough, or I didn't make enough jokes. I wasn't entertaining enough. These are the types of things I often hear from guys. When really, maybe the problem was that your posture is all screwed up. You're not making enough eye contact. You're speeding through the conversation and talking too fast. And maybe your tonality is off. So you think you're screwing up these things, but really you're screwing up a whole nother set of things. Then the problem becomes you start correcting for the wrong things and you never correct the things that are actually screwing you up, and it becomes a very long and drawn out process to improve, and it can be very frustrating and you might want to even give up along the way. Then for the successes that you do have, let's say you had an approach go great, or let's say you had a date go super awesome. Maybe you think the date went great because you went for the kiss early on, or you talked about X, Y, or Z topic, when the real reason the date went great was because you built some compliance throughout. You asked her to go home with you towards the end, you moved things forward, you led her, but because you don't really know what you're doing yet, you end up thinking this was the cause of your success. You do more of that when really it's the other thing, and it becomes really hard to replicate the successes that you do have. Now, when you overcorrect or undercorrect at each roadblock, these roadblocks become more and more challenging, and you can see how it can feel really difficult to improve with women, and it can feel like it's gonna take a long time because, again, for a lot of guys it does because of these things. Now, a quick tip to get past this is to do some self-reflection. Like, after your dates, after your interactions, do a little journaling. Figure out, write down what you think went well. When you did this, how did she react? What you think went poorly, like when you did that, how did she react? And reflect on it. At least then you can get your thoughts on paper and have a record of what's working and what is not. And you can kind of pick up the patterns along the way versus straight up doing trial and error. You're still kind of doing trial and error, but it's a little bit more of a savvy way to do it, a little bit more intelligent, and it should kind of speed up the process. This is actually something I would do when I first started improving with women. Like my nights out, my interactions, I'd journal them, I'd write them all down, and just kind of getting them on paper really made me realize, like, hey, what I thought I was screwing up, maybe I'm actually screwing up something else. Like it kind of makes more sense when it's out there. So give it a try. If you have the wrong or limiting assumptions about women, it's going to make it really hard for you to progress, and it's certainly going to slow things down. So let's take a look at some common wrong assumptions guys have when it comes to women. One, sort of the first big one is that women don't want men to approach them. Or sort of like you're going to be bothering a girl if you go up and talk to her. So how does this affect you? Well, maybe if you see a girl walking down the street and you think, well, I love to go talk to this girl, but I'm just going to be annoying her. then you're probably not gonna go do it. Now let's say you assume that improving with women is for weirdos. So that, like, you know, if you don't naturally have the skills, if you're not naturally confident, then you might as well just give up and settle for your lot in life because improving is just too weird, or it's only for weird guys. Well, in that case, it's gonna be really hard to get the help that you need, to ask the questions you need to ask to actually get better in this area of your life, and it's probably just not gonna happen. Another assumption, let's say you think girls are out of your league. So if you do see a really sexy girl walking down the street, you're gonna tell yourself, oh, like, I'm not good enough for her. She's not gonna like a guy like me. And you're not gonna go up and take advantage of the opportunity, but instead let these opportunities slip over and over again. And this mindset, this assumption sort of compounds and compounds and compounds. Now I'm curious, for you, what incorrect or harmful assumptions do you think you have when it comes to dating and women? I'd be curious, drop them in the comments below. I'll check them out, I'll respond to each one. Now let's talk about a quick tip you can do to overcome this. So the big thing you need to do is to challenge your assumptions. So you gotta realize that most of the assumptions that you may have about dating women have been given to you or have been influenced by people who are completely clueless when it comes to dating. People who haven't had the success that you wanna have, and as a result, you definitely should not be listening to them because they have no fucking idea what they're talking about. And moreover, many of these assumptions don't apply to high value men. High value men sort of just like live by their own set of rules. So if someone tells you, oh, you can't just go up and talk to the hottest girl in the bar, well, a high value man might just say, well, all right, I'm just gonna go do it and see what happens, and maybe he has success, right? That rule doesn't apply to him because he thinks for himself, he's intentional, he goes out and he creates the life that he wants for himself. Maybe the average Joe isn't gonna do that because he just gives in to all these beliefs and assumptions. That said, some of these assumptions may come from your own experience. Maybe like a bad rejection that you had with a girl. Maybe just a bad time that you had. Like I remember for me, I had a time where I was at my homecoming dance in high school, and the girl that I brought to that dance, my girlfriend at the time, started making out with another guy by the end of the night, and I was absolutely shattered. My mom still had to take her home, like she still had to drive her home in the car with us, and it was a very embarrassing and like traumatic experience for me. In fact, it caused me to sort of manufacture the assumption that other guys are better than me with women, and that I'm always gonna lose these sort of competitions. But you gotta realize, even if you have had these bad experiences, they're coming from a place of not having your dating life handled, right? Back when I was in high school, I was nowhere close to having my dating life handled. And so that assumption is not a realistic picture of what the world really is like. So keeping these things in mind, that's one way to challenge these assumptions. Now, the other way to challenge the assumptions is to go out and take action. So if you assume that girls don't want you to approach them, go talk to some girls. Go talk to 10, 20, 30 girls and just kind of see how it goes. Give it your best shot. And I think you're gonna see that you get a lot better reactions than you think you might. And once you get even a few positive reactions out of those approaches, it's gonna be harder and harder to tell yourself, hey, women don't want me to go talk to them, because you're seeing that women are enjoying their experiences with you. If you assume, well, improving with women is for weirdos, well, number one, I don't know why you're watching this video, but then number two, ask yourself, where did this assumption come from, right? And likely it came from some, group of friends, some guys that kind of telling you, maybe something you saw on TV, and then ask yourself, like, does this person have the dating life that I want? And oftentimes you're gonna realize they definitely don't. All the more reason to think for yourself. Now, a lot of guys rely on luck when it comes to attracting women. They think, you know what? One day the right girl will come along and it'll all just kind of work out. Well, number one, that's pretty unlikely to happen. But let's say in a perfect world, it does happen, right? The right girl comes along, she's walking down the street coming right towards you. Well, if you don't have this skill set built to where you can confidently approach girls, go up, talk to them, get them attracted, make them want to see you again and kind of progress things forward, what are you gonna do in that situation, right? Are you gonna go talk to that girl, or are you gonna let her just walk by and out of your life? Odds are she's probably just going to walk by and you're gonna miss that opportunity, and a lot more opportunities just like it. But for the sake of argument, let's say, the perfect girl comes into your life, somehow it works out, you guys start dating, she becomes your girlfriend. It's great, it's like this awesome love story. Well, here's the problem. Because you relied on luck to get this girl in the first place and things just kind of worked out, you weren't intentional about it, right? So you're not gonna have faith in yourself that you can replicate this again, because there was no process to replicate. It was just out of sheer dumb luck. And so you're gonna be petrified of losing the girl because you know you can't replicate it. And this is going to cause you to act a lot more needy, and it's going to cause you to be afraid of setting the right boundaries, which is going to make for a very unhealthy relationship and likely cause its, eventual demise. Either you're gonna lose her in the long run, or if you do stick with her, the relationship's gonna be very unhealthy and you're probably gonna get walked all over, which you don't want. Now you might be asking, all right, Dave, how do I avoid this? Well, the only way to avoid it is to be intentional about creating the dating life that you want for yourself. Intentional about building a skill set. See, when I was younger, when I was a young guy back in high school, I knew that there was no way I was going to just look into a great girlfriend or a great relationship. I was shy, I was anxious, I didn't know what I was doing. It wasn't gonna happen. I knew that I had to put into work or I was gonna be shit out of luck. So that's what I started doing. I started listening to dating advice when I think I was in 11th grade. I was trying to surround myself with guys who were confident, asking them what they were doing. I was trying to go out with guys who were more confident than me and looking at what they were doing. And I was constantly trying to put in the work on myself and be intentional so that I could control this part of my life. It was a long journey, but I was able to make it happen, and being intentional created a giant sense of abundance and just gave me a lot of options. So there was no one girl where I ever felt like, if it doesn't work out with this girl, I can't find another one. What you gotta understand is your relationships play a huge role in your life. The type of women who you spend time with play a huge role in your life as well. And that one woman who you eventually choose to maybe settle down with is going to be the person you spend the most time with. Her mindsets are gonna sink into your mindsets. Her habits are gonna sink into your habits. And if it's not a quality girl, if it's not a girl you're excited about, if you're with her out of scarcity or for the wrong reasons, it's not gonna create a happy life for yourself. So that's all the more reason to not rely on luck, but instead to be intentional and create the dating life you want for yourself. And that's a big part of creating the life in total that you want for yourself. Now you might be thinking, all right, Dave, seems like there's a lot of roadblocks, a lot of challenges to getting good with women. So how do I streamline this process? Well, I got some bad news for you. There are no shortcuts. There's no shortcut that's going to allow you to not put in any work. You're going to have to be intentional about this. You're going to have to make yourself uncomfortable, and you're going to have to go out there, talk to girls, and make it happen. That being said, there is a way to greatly accelerate this process. Now, the quick tips that I told you throughout this video are part of that. Now, another way probably the best way to greatly accelerate this process is to find a mentor. Find somebody who can, who's been there, who's done that when it comes to dating, who can point out where you're at, figure out what your roadblocks are, point out, hey, here's what you're doing right, here's what you're doing wrong, so you don't have to guess, and, make sure that you're on the right path to succeeding. Getting there a lot faster. That way you can actually enjoy your dating life rather than spend years being frustrated about it and have it sort of be this monkey on your back, sort of robbing your focus away from other things in your life. Now, if you like help with this, you like to find a mentor, make a massive amount of progress, then I got some good news for you. Me and How to Beast have created a dating coaching program where we've helped hundreds of guys over the past couple of years to smash through their roadblocks, become more confident, overcome their anxieties, and get the dating life that they really want. Now, if that sounds something you'd like to be a part of, just hit the first link in the description. You can see what it's all about, and you can go ahead and apply, and we will reach out and talk to you soon. Anyway, I will see you in the next video. Later.